in life with discipline and, taking care of yourself, but just mind over matter a lot of times, whether it's the body or anything else. So I'll keep that line forever. I love that. So anyway, it was cool. And shout out to my Lauren, who was my biggest fan and biggest coach. I was scared to death, but it was so cool. So.
No, you did great. I saw the clips, some of the clips. Obviously, you probably felt nervous, right? But to us, you looked natural, like typical Jess. With your notes. I like how you carried those notes.
Well, Chris told me, he's like, you can carry them up there. And I kind of liked it because it
looked really good. You should always do it. It looked really good because it shows your preparation.
Yeah.
So you were like, oh, let me ask you this. You look so professional. I was like, yay, bestie.
Yeah, and thank you, Julio, for prepping me. So that was
anytime.
Super fun. Another shout out to Heather Church from Echo Stage Glow. She got 40 under 40 in the DC. I can't remember the magazine. Oh, God. I wrote it down. She is the VP of Marketing and Talent at Echo Stage.
Nice.
Totally deserving. I mean, she's been there for what seems like forever. And I just want to give her a big shout out, because I love to see women do well. It is in our music scene, but also she's just so deserving. So
That's
deserving
awesome.
of it.
Congrats, Heather.
Yeah, it was very, very cool.
Nice.
And I want to give a shout out to one of our biggest fans. So often, biggest fans and supporters, I should say, Jason MacArthur.
Jason.
12 after 12. A lot of times I know I and you, we share all our friends' businesses stuff because I think it's so important. And no matter how big you get, you should always, be humbled and 12 after 12 is always packed. I always have a good time, and I feel so comfortable. I get so fucked up. But he shares everything. Tribe Called Jess, and we share his stuff back, and he does it without being asked, and it's just so kind of him. And big ups, Jason. I really, really appreciate this.
We got your jersey coming too.
Spoilers.
You better.
Yeah, and the extra thing you asked me about. That thong. Love you, Jason.
We love you, Jason. I texted him to listen, and I was like, I'm going to shout you out because I really appreciate it.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a great guy.
And I
throws great parties.
Do you want me to mention any events? And his answer to me was like, no, I so appreciate you doing that. So go to 12 after 12. Great place.
He said you were enough to come. We don't need your friends.
Yeah. So anyway, I went to Puerto Rico.
Oh, tell us about it. I saw the pictures.
Frankie got me from the airport because you had dropped me off.
Yeah.
What a good friend. I was so appreciative of that because I felt safe. I was like, okay, good.
Can I be honest? I did it for the car. She let me borrow her BMW.
I know. Nicest ride.
I was like, peace out.
I know. Frankie's like, your car is amazing. I was like, you balls to the wall all week. And I'm like, is my car broke?
She gets it back and it's like all the buttons that I push. She's like, what is wrong with my car?
Like, what the fuck did you do to my car? So anyway, Puerto Rico was awesome. Carrie Ann and I left I did the pod, went down to see an old friend of mine who I've been friends with for, I think, 11 or 12 years, and met new friends down there.
Yeah.
And it was just a fabulous trip. First of all, Carrie, I know you'll probably listen back. Fabulous travel buddy. You're amazing.
She takes great pictures.
Hey, I didn't, you know what? Fatal friend flaw. Can you take my photo? Can you take my photo? And finally, I handed it off to one of the friends we made, and I go, here, you do it. But to be honest, I was happy to do it. She was such a pleasure. Literally zero drama. We just had the best time. And obviously went to La Factoria, which is that famous place. And I ran into someone from D.C. in there. I was like, what are you doing here? And then Mercado La Carreta. What does that stand? How does that translate, Frankie?
That's like the
wagon market.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it was fabulous. It reminded me of Miami. We did that. We did like a bar crawl Monday because it was President's Day. And that was awesome. So, and then we did an Airbnb right on the ocean with a pool right up there, hot tub, food cooked out, and just what a fabulous time. And I will tell you, it's top 3 trip for me. And I've been to Puerto Rico before, and, I've traveled all over. I feel like the world, I haven't been to like Australia or Asia, but a lot. And I just felt so at peace. Like it was the people we were with, just all good vibes. just all good energy.
Yeah.
So generous to take us around and show us everything and take care of us. And we just had great conversation. And it didn't ever, we had so much fun, but I always felt at peace, which is, I don't think I've ever vacated and felt like that. So shout out to them if they're listening. They know who they are. And thank you so much. We had such a great time, and we'll definitely see you again soon. So
yeah, you came back exhausted. It was so fun. She was done.
We partied. We partied. We had dance party. You know me, Airbnb. And we danced to all kinds of music, all the way from like disco, Diana Ross, you know, like that, all the way through EDM and techno and house. And one night, what is that party? Reggaeton. You always say it a certain way. Reggaeton. That was really fun. You know, I love that music. And I talked about El Patio. So that was really cool. We just had, God, what a great time.
Well, let me answer the most important question that you don't care about. How's the food?
Actually, excellent. Excellent.
Jessica ate?
I ate.
She came back like half a pound heavier.
Actually, I think I lost weight because I danced so much.
I hate you.
Although I drank so much, but I did drink so much. But never got like, I think the first night we were there, I browned out, not blacked out for half hour. I was like, oh boy.
That sounds gross. Like you need a diaper for it or something.
Yeah.
Meaning I kind of remembered. I was like, oh, God, did I do anything stupid? But whatever. You're in Puerto Rico. Who cares? So then what was I saying? But I had
about food.
Excellent ceviche. We went to a steakhouse. Had excellent burrata. Some steak there. I mean, just all kinds of food all week. Went to a really cool cigar bar. I smoked a cigar.
Oh.
Not a whole one.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Oh boy. So anyway, it was great.
It was good.
It was good.
Yeah, I saw the pictures you sent. Like, what was your favorite part? Was it the beach or Old San Juan? Or just different vibes?
I always love Old San Juan. Where we stayed, there was a square there with a coffee shop, right? Like an outdoor coffee shop. And that was probably, Carrie Ann and I went there and had coffee together and chatted. I think just honestly, the people we were with made it. It could have been anywhere, right? It was just
okay. Don't praise him too much. I want to be jealous over here.
Well,
your bestie doesn't want to get jealous.
I say the same when we go to Miami. It's the people that you're with. Well, you might not have been that much levels.
She came back, bro. That's all you got to remember. She came back.
I came back.
What was that post you put up, Julio, that you and I discussed? She said something about
new
besties or something besties.
I said, new besties, old souls.
And I texted Julio. I said, Julio, did you see that post?
He got very upset.
I was like, really? So we're just going to throw that word out there, just nonchalant, just whatever. Like,
you guys are my family. Stop it. Ew, and you're the one on show. I have it on recording that said, I hate it when you can't be friends with other people. Remember that, John? And you can't be blah, blah, blah. So don't even.
See, and that's going to lead us to when you open up and then they bring it back out.
You guys are assholes.
I'm just
Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. So let's get into some dirt. Let's go because they don't want to hear all about my trip to Puerto Rico. So I put a reel up. I gave it to you guys. I also put it on Instagram. And the main thing of the reel was, don't quit getting upset when people don't choose you. And she talks about how, it affects your ego and how I had a lot of resonation with this. She talks about, it hurts your ego when people don't choose you, but you might not be right for everybody. And, how she's gone to the gym and leveled up and works hard every day and realizes that she lets people go with ease. Well, you guys know I really resonate with that.
Yeah.
However, in saying that, when I thought about it over, especially the last year, I would say don't get so far from that you're not open to love or open to vulnerabilities and feelings. Because I feel like I told you this, that I get so self-aware and have worked so hard not to love and care from ego. And now it's like, but I kind of feel like I'm so self-aware that I kind of close myself off from things. So I'm trying to really work on that and like be open to other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
What did you think of it? Did you even watch it?
Yeah, of course. I saw it. I mean, there's really good points, you know, when it comes to what she was saying. And I always say it's about a balance, right? And I do believe that our ego does play a good role, but it's got to be kept in check. And when it comes to that situation, we give that power to people over us, right? If a stranger comes over and insults you, right? You could have that. You could either be like, I don't even know this person, move on. Or you could be like, how dare this person offend me, right? So when you open up to people, what she said, you just have to take it back a little bit, let your ego go, and realize you're not being rejected. It's not someone's better than you. Is that maybe that's not just you're not your person, right?
Well, I think caring from them from a place of not. So I've worked really hard. I told you this at the beginning of, I think it was April. I probably mentioned this to you. I've worked really hard on not loving or caring from my ego. If people need to go on their journey, they have to go. And that's what real caring about, whether that's friends, family, love. I mean, everybody deduces everything to love. I think when you let go of the ego, then you're really caring about someone. I will go back to what I said. I don't think it's necessarily keeping ego in check as much as it is. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You know how I get. I don't think it's much as keeping ego in check, but remembering you will always be okay.
Yeah.
And when you can remember that you will always be okay, I think then that's when you can let go of people easier and be open to being vulnerable.
Yeah, you always have to be complete on your own, right? We always talk about working on oneself. So if you meet somebody, you like them a lot, of course you're open up and you're vulnerable and you start liking them, and then they don't reciprocate or they say, you know what, you're not my person. We got to understand, once again, it's not about that they're going to find someone better. It's just someone different. You're not for them.
Correct.
And the ego, like I like you. I always use that expression, like love from, what is it? Love from ego. Love without.
Love without ego, and it's not easy. And I think loving yourself is not like this. People are like, love yourself. It takes a lot of work, and I've done a lot of work in the last 2 years for sure, more than I ever have on that. And I think we easily dish out advice. And I made a big TikTok, which I have not posted on any of my other socials yet, about this, to let people go, to not, know your worth, demand the worth from yourself, of you, like know your worth, and it's okay, and better days will come. But that's a whole nother subject for another day. But Julio, any thoughts? You're quiet tonight.
I'm just trying to, figure out where everyone's gauging on that.
Where are you gauging, Julio?
Well, I think it's definitely one of those things that when you reach a certain moment in your life where you're kind of better understand yourself, and you realize that maybe you're not the reason why you're getting chosen. It's more like they're looking for something else in another person. And then I was thinking of the stupid phrase that, like, if you have to force a fart, it's probably just shit. So it's the same thing like a relationship, if you force yourself to be someone or to be chosen by someone, it's not going to end up in a good, healthy relationship like you would want to. So, once you get to the point where you better understand what you're looking for, what you want in another person, and what you're also willing to offer, then you're able to just be like, okay, that wasn't the one. Let's maybe,
But I think we relate this, and I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I think, though, that we relate this all to love, right? Sometimes our friends don't choose us. Sometimes our family doesn't choose us. And the same thing always has to apply, and that's even harder. Did you say amen to something I said, Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. why are we saying amen? I like it. I don't ever get an amen from Jeff.
I was just messing around because you said sometimes your family doesn't choose you.
Oh.
Jeff's just upset that you didn't take him to Puerto Rico.
Jeff's upset I didn't know. Jeff's not
But that's
upset.
the thing. We tend to take things, I guess, rejection, we take it so personal, right?
Yeah.
We're like, because it's who we are. I guess as humans, we always want to be accepted, right? We want to be liked and loved.
Well,
so
any
when
kind of
somebody says no,
Oh, I mean, every relationship, like friendship, your
Yeah.
family, you give part of yourself to the other person.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, you know, if you're a person that you've considered a close friend, kind of like no longer is your friend or walks out of your life, it's like they basically just threw you away is
Yeah.
the feeling.
Oh, I know the feeling.
Yeah. So, I mean,
All too-
I think that's,
all
honestly, I think
too
that's probably a little
well.
bit harder than when it comes to love, especially because it's a little bit more intimate.
Oh, I think friendship breakups by far. If you want to hear, somebody wrote this TikTok. If you want to hear a Swiftie belt out a song, watch a friendship breakup over a love breakup any day. But yeah, I thought it was a good point. I think I think you should let people go. I thought it was a good discussion. Just a quick notated discussion that I think we'll elaborate on. We have before, and I got a lot of good feedback from the show. So
Yeah. I'm not sure. Did she mention in that clip how sometimes we react to like, I'll show them, like I'll be better or this and that, like not to act that way?
I think what she said is when you're able to do that, it is fucking power, and it is.
Yeah.
When you can put yourself self-love, it should be your first love. It should be your first love of your life, and when you can react, I think she was more referring to men at that point, and not be the crazy bitch chasing them down.
That's
and
right.
Blah
That's
blah
right.
blah.
Yeah.
You know, then they're like, wait, but I expected this reaction, and you know, she said that's a power, and I don't think she meant it as that's a game, right? It is a power.
Yeah.
You're able to value yourself and move up. You're not wasting time. Look, guys, time is getting shorter and shorter and shorter as you get older and older, and it becomes more valuable. And I think when you start to realize your time is valuable, you stop wasting times in situations that don't serve your energy and your values. So anyway.
If you do need energy, drink a Monster.
If you do need energy, drink a Monster. Okay, guys, I let you, since we didn't do it last time, I let you do some Ask Jessica, or Jess, never Jessie. All right.
I always say Jessica.
Jessica.
And since we're Hispanic, I'm like Jessica.
All right, more energy. What's up?
I had a really good question for you this week,
Okay.
a thought-provoking one.
Okay.
And my question to you was, what do you find more difficult, forgiving yourself or forgiving others, and why?
Oh boy. I forgive other people pretty quickly, mostly because I need to let it go in order for me to move on. And I only know that harboring things, and I have harbored them.
Yeah.
And I'm very aware when I am harboring something. So I have to let that go for me. I think it has been much harder in my journey of over the last few years of forgiving myself, and not because it's hard necessarily to forgive myself. I'm trying to realize what I'm forgiving myself for. And this is hard to talk about because I have gotten so twisted by certain people in my life, in my past, that I think that I did something wrong when I'm realizing now at 48, 47, going into 49, that I didn't do anything wrong at all. So I've been paying the price to myself, and really I should have been forgiving them. Taking accountability and really forgiving myself, it's work for the things I have done. I mean, things that I feel, look, there's difference between shame and guilt, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And we'll get into that later. But it's not easy. It's not an easy journey because I'm not sure, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm forgiving myself for in certain cases. And it's heartbreaking when you start to unpack that. I mean, what do you find more?
Oh, to me, it's easy to forgive others.
Yeah.
Easily. I mean,
Yeah.
and I mean, one of the rules I live by is like, I forgive them because I know eventually I'll mess up, and I expect them to forgive
not
me
a real-
too. You know, no, but I'm saying, like, we're all going to make mistakes, right? And we'll find situations where you're going to be like apologizing. So I forgive others because I eventually, when I mess up, they have that same, love and forgiveness towards me.
Don't even get me started. Yes, I agree.
But when it comes to forgiving myself, maybe I don't look in the mirror. Or maybe I should do it more often. When have you ever looked in the mirror and say, I forgive you? I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever looked in the mirror and told myself I forgive myself for this.
Jeff, do you look in the mirror and forgive yourself or just brush your hair?
I just look at my hair.
You just look at your hair?
Mm-hmm.
You forgive yourself for having that hair, baby. What about you, Julio?
I never forgive myself.
You don't?
No.
Really?
No.
Talk to us about this. This could be therapy, Jeff.
No.
Why? Why don't you forgive yourself?
This is not in my nature. It has to be right or it's wrong.
Right, but forgiveness is an act of taking what's wrong. I mean, if you're repetitive, then that's different. But if you forgive yourself and you don't repeat it.
I just don't forgive myself.
Well, we're going to work on that,
I
Jeffrey.
dwell on it for years and
I
years.
did too. I can relate. I empathize with that. Same. But now I have a task for the year.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't think I've ever, you don't hold like grudges for someone for years,
No.
right?
That's I get over shit.
But we're so harsh
quick.
on ourselves, though. It's like, Jeff just put it into perspective. It's like we could go years, maybe not even trying to address it because, we feel so guilty or, our conscience bothers us or, we're always like on ourselves about something we've done or how we treated others or whatever the situation is. But it's so important to be able to forgive oneself.
And I think when you're forgiving others, I've learned this lesson too. And, the listeners out there is that remember when you're speaking, and if I sneeze, hold on. When you're speaking to that person, you can relay that you're not accepting the behavior, right?
Yeah.
The behavior was unacceptable, but I do forgive you. It doesn't mean you need to remain in that energy with them. But I think we need to convey that when we forgive, because I think we're like, oh, yeah, I forgive you. And it's like, I don't like that behavior. It doesn't have to be a sermon, for God's sakes. I've had those handed to me on text. It doesn't have to be a sermon, but, you can at least say, look, I really didn't like the behavior. Here's why this can't happen again, blah, blah, blah. And then, forgive, move on. So, I don't know. I think that's a great question, Frankie. I think it's an important question because I think people walk around with a lot of shame, not guilt. I have something for that. What do you got for me, crazy boy? My Julio July Diaz. I feel like we need a song like Taylor Swift interlude. I think we've had so many. You know what?
Here
guys?
goes in Jessica's energy, right? You always got to be dancing. Always got to have some music on.
No, we've had so many freaking guests here. We've had insane conversations about off-hinge shit.
Yeah.
I mean, the golden shower. I watched that clip back and I'm like, oh, was that said on the show?
I was getting stuff on YouTube, and it's like, is this content made for children? I'm like, no, definitely not.
Who said that?
It's part of the YouTube's algorithm.
Oh, I thought you meant like
and,
a parent asked you that. I'm like,
No,
oh my
no.
God. I tell my friends, do not let your kids listen to my show. One week it
Every
could
Wednesday,
be...
I have my whole family gathered around. And we listen to a Tribe Called Jess.
Well, some weeks will be more tame, right? And I like that because I need the tame because then we get wild and off hinge and other weeks when we have guests and stuff. But I'm like, never, because I never know what's coming out of my mouth, ever. Especially live.
Or going into it.
Shut up, Jeff. Fucking pigs. All of you. Going into it.
Well, I don't let my kids listen to the show.
I'm a saint. Well, never mind. Yes, you should not.
Yeah, because I share too much personal information.
I know. I like
One day, eventually, they'll listen to it, but for now,
yeah, when they have their own kids, they'll listen to it.
No, they'll probably hear it before. Especially your oldest, I bet.
I'm sweating.
I know.
You'll be fine. Stop being a baby.
Forgive yourself.
Forgive yourself.
Forgive yourself because Josephine won't.
Oh my God. Okay, Julio, what do you got?
Now I don't ask him how do you live with a constant thought that one day your kids are going to listen to the podcast. That's what
My kid does listen to the podcast.
Your kid was on here.
My kid was on the podcast. It is let me tell you, it is an interesting conversation with your child or coming out of your mouth saying, well, but Nico's reaction was so great. He's like, Mom, you are who you are. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
You talk about good stuff. You go, I just shoot the shit how it is. And I like sometimes getting a little off hinge and then bringing it back into not off hinge. So, I mean, how cool am I to have that kid that said that? And I think he knows the values and morals and characteristics I carry myself in.
Yeah.
So he realizes, I'm just saying what everybody else wants to say but won't.
You know what though? I'm curious. I'm gonna next time I
Well,
see
not
him.
everything. Not everything.
Correct. That's what I like about you. You always keep it. We can't always be
I keep it
100% open.
I only tell about 20% of my life on here, which is scary.
I always wonder. Next time I see Nico, I'm gonna ask him how he feels when it's like.
He's coming on in April. They're
I was
doing
gonna
a
ask that when he's
college
gonna come
show.
back.
They want to
Like-
come on for the college kids. Want to come on?
Like, does he ever feel like? Do you ever feel like embarrassed? Because that's your mom, and she's so cool. Do you always be like, "Oh, mom, tone it down"?
I
Because
don't
my
think-
kids, my kids are like that. Like,
I don't think he does it. Nico, if you're listening, call in.
no, because my kids are like, they know I'm fun and cool, and I know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And they'll kind of be like, "Okay, that's cool," but then when
Stop
it
embarrassing
happens,
us.
what's that?
They're like, stop embarrassing us.
Yeah. Then they'll be like, they'll act like, "Oh, Dad, that's so embarrassing." Like,
Yeah.
You're such a dad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it because
I don't-
it might
I
be?
don't-
Is
I
it
don't
because
know. I
daughter
mean-
to father dynamic is different, or
I mean,
what do
Nico
you think it is?
heard it was when Kevin and I originally started the show, and I mean, if we think sometimes it gets wild and crazy on this, the stuff that Kevin would ask me was pushing the envelope even for me, and he heard those episodes, so and that's when he kind of laughed. I mean, I'm sure if he's getting heckled or anything like that, but I mean, his friends all texted me. This was January, like we all want to come on. They love the show, and
I wonder why they want to come on to be on the
They
show
wanna
with
come on to the
Jessica.
mom.
I know.
Exactly, right?
Oh no! Well, it's him and his friend. No, his best friend that goes to college is one of my best friend's sons. Like, no, no.
Oh, sounds like the plot
I
of
mean,
something
because
I know.
my oldest, she's always like her friends, like her coworkers or friends, will hear about that I'm on a podcast, right? And they'll come up to me and be like, "Oh, congratulations!" This and she'll be like, "Oh," rolling her eyes, like, like so embarrassing. Like,
And you remember, and it humbles you too, because Nick doesn't really do that, but sometimes, and it humbles you real quick because I'm like, I'm cool, I'm still relevant, I'm cool. I'm like, I am not cool, I am not cool at all. Those days, I mean, I'm okay, cool, but like those kids aren't looking at you like, oh, you're so cool. It's where I'm like thinking they think I'm cool.
no, they are.
Maybe some of them, maybe.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
girls
it's-
do, because I talk to them about all their problems, and I dance with them and have fun with them, and tell them to tell their boyfriends to kick rocks.
Rocks. Wow.
What do you got for me, Julio, so we can get into this deep stuff Frankie wants to get into about women using men's vulnerabilities against them? But we'll start with you first.
What vulnerabilities do you use against men? Okay. So I think mine kind of goes in hand with what Frankie asked you. How do you handle disrespect?
Ooh.
Not well. Ooh,
I don't know. I'm pretty proud how mature you are.
I am. I actually do. Oh, God. The worst offenders are women with me, and you know it. I mean, and I have no idea because I'm more than fucking nice to them. I am the champion of women and making sure that they feel welcome, and I feel like I try my best, like, to just welcome, and they always end up fucking it up, like strangers,
Yeah.
more than anything. And I'm like, what do I do that makes chicks do this to me? Anyway, so I've been in many situations, and you know it, with both women and men, where I have been put in worse situations than I think most people ever are, and without saying them, and I handled them like a boss, because I'm going to tell anybody out there, I'm never ruining my good time. That's like, you're not ruining my party, and I am never going to ruin the party of my friends. And I've learned to regulate and not react, which I tell you, I thank our friend G for that. He's worked on it with me and been like, come on, regulate that emotion. It is very hard. I get all right, let me finish that thought. When I am in a situation now that I feel disrespected, I can get out of it. The problem lies when I can't leave, or I can't, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm going to pop off. I'm not going to throw hands. Let's be clear. I mean, pop off. I'm going to put someone in check, because I have no problem. Look, people need to be called out on their shit. That doesn't mean start a fight. That doesn't mean, like, F you and all that. But I will call you out on your disrespect and shit if you push me to the point I can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
And you need to, because you keep doing it, and one day you're going to run into the wrong person that you're going to disrespect, and that's not going to be any fun. Second of all, it's fucking rude. Like, I don't disrespect people. Why? Especially women on women. I'll go back to it every time. And I'm like, and you better have that shot in your bag. Anyway, I had to say that because that's like our little joke.
Yeah.
But you better. The second thing I hate, and I think I've hated this in the past, I don't deal with this as much, is I don't generally get jealous. When I'm jealous, I know I'm jealous. And I get jealous for the oddest shit. Like, not the normal shit. And I know when I'm jealous. But I've been accused of being jealous when I'm like, no. And there's no way to defend yourself, right? Oh, you're being jealous. You're being jealous. I'm like, I'm straight up getting disrespected.
Yeah.
I'm not jealous. I'll let you know when I'm jealous. Because when I'm jealous, when I get that jealous, I need to walk away. I cannot regulate at all. So that's how I know the difference between the two.
Yeah.
So I handle it better than I used to. I can regulate my reaction, and 99% I walk away and just hold my hands or the hands of my friends, so I don't just.
Well,
I just don't like to not be able to get away from it.
How did 20-year-old Jess handle disrespect?
Well, interesting fact that that I've known this woman for a while now. She's strong. She's verbal. Like, she'll opinionate it, right?
She's just
No, but I'm saying sometimes
I am.
you tend to think that people who are like that will be people who can't control themselves, who always have to say something, right? The minute they're disrespected, I would think like she would cause a scene or she'll be like this. Not Jessica, she's completely opposite. Like, she'll let me know. She'll put me to the side and tell me, look, this is what's going on, this is how I feel. But I'm not gonna let she says, I'm not gonna let this situation ruin my fun. I'll address it later.
My friends' fun. I'm never going to ruin my friend's fun because normally this happens in some sort of group party setting. Normally it's girls, but there's been plenty of guys, and I'm never ruining my party. I get one life, and your disrespect, but and most times again I can get away, right? It's when I can't.
Dude, but that's easier said than done. Like, that's what I'm saying. That's like, I admire you that you do that.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
Because
and I'm not causing a scene. That first of all, I'm not looking like a classless bitch.
That's the thing. She's still able to reason that way because when your emotions are offended, I'm upset.
I didn't. I wasn't.
People don't think
hold
that
on.
way.
I wasn't always like that. Jeff can be a testament to that. That took work. I mean, Jeff and I have been friends 25 years, and like you said, 20 whatever years. I'm not going to look classless. I'm gonna, and even better, I'm gonna make those people, women or men, trip themselves up and make an ass out of themselves, and then I don't have to say anything at all. But it's hard. If I can't get away, it's really, really hard to not say anything. But I'm getting better.
So we'll set Jess up in an escape room with a whole bunch of people. So we can see exactly what happens.
See how she is when she's jealous.
No, if you put me in an escape room, I'll probably start getting claustrophobic. I can't get out, and then I am throwing hands with everybody and throwing everything. Good questions, guys. Super thought provoking. I like those. Those were good ones this week.
Racks my little brain.
I mean, just racked it. Oh my God. All right, guys. So the big subject of the night, where I put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, was what came up on Valentine's Day, and that was, do women use men's vulnerabilities and hard stories against them, mainly in a breakup, but even during a relationship? So before we begin this, I want to say this, because I'm never, and not that you guys ever bash, but I'm not about bashing one sex or the other. We're all human, and we're all guilty of things in our life. And some genders do more things than others, but we're not going to bash people, which I know you wouldn't. But I do want to say this, that it is definitely not just women. I have told the reason I am so terrified of getting, I would say this pertains to relationships for me. I'm not terrified. That's a stupid word. I'm reluctant sometimes to share my hard stories because I have shared them and felt so safe to do so. And I was shamed. I was not only used against me, I was shamed for them. And the shame I felt is so bad. I'm still recovering from that.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the couple of things I've told Frankie, which I won't share on air, not yet. Eventually, maybe I will. And guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am wrong. Like I'm not worthy of anything. I'm not worthy of love and connection. And so I want to preface this by saying, A, it happens to every sex because it happened to me and it takes a long time. And so I recognize that it scarred me and I'm working on, you know what, the same philosophy with ego, I'll always be okay. Even if I share something, I'll still be okay. So I'm working on that. The second thing is to people that women or men out there that take what people share with them, whether it's a friend or a family member or a partner, right? And you take the deepest parts of them, the secret parts of them that they shared with you at that time, whether you're with them or not, no matter what they're doing to you, because you are always the better person. Do not use that against them. Do not spread rumors. Do not say these awful, awful things, because the person on the other end of receiving it, I don't care. They don't deserve that. Like, to recover from that has been incredibly, incredibly hard, and to differentiate that. So, all right, now you can tell me, but you're allowed to be 100% honest. I don't want to say that because I know it happens. Because many men agree with you, and then I'll give you the feedback.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I'm glad you clarified that, because when we bring certain topics up, it's never to bash, a man or women. It's just conversations that we have, because it's people ask these things to them, all the time. So it's just topics we bring up to discuss. Because when I brought it up, it wasn't about women. I was just giving a reason why us men, one reason why we won't open up, because women always ask, oh, you're so closed in. Why don't you open up? Why don't you open up? So I was just providing one reason of saying why, us men don't open up. And one of them was that we tend to feel, or at least I do at times, that if I become vulnerable and I share certain things, when things are good, things, how things are, right? When things are always going well, everybody's happy, everything's at peace. But when we start having those arguments or those serious conversations where, we're mad at each other, sometimes, your significant other will put that thing in the little bag, and then it'll bring it out at certain times. It's just kind of like,
I think more so, Frankie, what I'd like to hear about, and John and Jeff jump in, obviously Julio. I feel like the feedback I got, of course, people do that in relationships. We're all not as emotionally intelligent sometimes, right? And we do that by nature, and we have to work hard not to, because it can be controlled. But what I hear more is people with breakups and awful, awful stories. You guys got an opinion on that? John, Jeff? Jeff, you said it does happen on Valentine's special, so I'm curious of your intelligence on this.
Yeah, I mean, people do some crazy shit to each other, and it just, you have to deal with it.
Have you had that done to you, where somebody used stuff against you?
Not use stuff against me. I mean, in an argument, yeah.
After a breakup, like somebody just took the worst stories of you and the places you were vulnerable, and then maybe spread them around or just said horrific things to you.
People spread stuff around that hasn't even happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Can I raise
people
my
that
hand
have no
tell
life
a
and
story?
have nothing better to do, they need to make it about them. And then if they're jealous or they've got an issue or whatever, then they say whatever they want. So, like, I've just learned to turn the other cheek. I mean, the situation I was in with a previous business relationship, and the person who was one of my good friends, and then it just turned on me flat and tried to get me in trouble and blame stuff on me that they were in trouble for. I mean, and it wasn't like anything huge. It's just a headache that I didn't need to deal with.
Right. I think for me too, I don't think I heard after a breakup the worst stories necessarily said about me, but I heard things, the way events were twisted, or things that were said about me that were completely not true, but not like actual stories that I shared. That was more during the relationship that was weaponized against me.
I mean, sometimes it doesn't have to be so serious, right? I remember seeing a TikTok reel where the guy was like, they were arguing, right? And the woman goes, yeah, that's why you let me fuck you with that big dildo. And he was like, that was private. You weren't supposed to share that. So that's what I'm talking about. So it's not always like, oh my God,
Hold
like
on, Jeff has something to say
No,
about that.
it's just weird what people think, and like that hasn't really happened to me that I really recall too much.
Yeah.
When it's over with me for the most part,
Same.
and I just move on,
I think
and I don't
people-
worry about it, and I end up still being friends with people. Usually not right after the breakup, but years later we'll be like, oh, how are you? That sort of stuff.
I'm friends with all but one.
Yeah.
I mean, I say friends. One of my exes, and you know.
but it does
Yeah.
change the dynamic.
Yeah,
though,
and I don't hold the grudges
Yeah.
for that long. And then also, sometimes people, like you're saying, like if that was me in that situation, I wouldn't like that. But there's people, they'll try and say something. Like I think I told you at a place that I used to work, one of the doormen were jealous of me and my brothers because we'd go in there and talk to a lot of people or whatever, and they would tell all the girls that were working there that we were porn producers.
I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah, and we weren't, but it backfired on them because the people that they were trying to cock block us to keep them away from us actually started. Really, is that what you do? That's so cool.
That's what I'm saying. Now, I don't know why they would think that would be
How
something.
many casting calls, Jeff?
How many
Yeah.
couch calls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Casting.
that's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
it never ceases to amaze me what people will do to think that they can get an edge over you.
So I went back in my text. So I wanted to research myself because I'm
Yeah.
always. I went back in my text. I'm not saying I never ever, but I have never gone and told somebody's deepest personal secrets. I don't sell people. I want to. Believe me. There are minutes that they're being so mean to me, and
Yeah.
I just don't feel, especially as getting older, I'm talking friends, family,
Yeah.
relationships, feel the need to tell my side of the story. My closest friends, they know my side of the story. But there's always two sides of the story, and then there's the truth. And I will speak that. So I went back in my text, and I just read through, because I keep everything. And I was like, when could I have done better in a breakup? And there was only one time where I read, and I didn't necessarily, and it wasn't my ex-husband. It was an ex-boyfriend. I didn't necessarily weaponize Nico, but I can see how it would have come across like that, because I was like, that's my son. Back off. But it wasn't a fair statement, right? That wasn't fair. And I didn't like that I did that. Otherwise, I went through a lot of texts.
No, but sometimes
Wait, hold on.
also.
Jeff, what's
go
up?
ahead.
Real quick.
I'm gonna say that sometimes people try to use stuff against you, but for me, I'm pretty open and honest about who I am and what I am. So there's not really a whole lot of secrets about me. So the people that know me know if somebody says something. I haven't really heard anything. I mean, stuff like that, like the porn producer thing was not true.
I find it
But it was because
hilarious.
my friend was a porn producer. So there's like sort of this grain of
Right.
truth that somebody grabbed out of the air.
Of course.
And they did it. But other than my mom finding something out, I mean, I'm not perfect by any means.
Yeah.
And there's things that I've done that I wouldn't want my mom to hear about necessarily.
Yeah.
But she wouldn't stop loving me or anything. But other than that, I don't know that there's really anything that I've done that I'm just would be embarrassed about necessarily.
I don't. So I'm a pretty open book as well. I think there's things I like to keep private, and more because they're painful for me, not because if they actually came out, I'd be like, oh my God. And painful for me are situations that made me feel extremely uncomfortable. You and I have talked about those situations in the past, and they're not good memories for me. So, but I've definitely had stuff used against me, and obviously mine more in a relationship. But go ahead, Frankie. I know you're
I was
chomping
gonna
at
say,
the bit.
No, because I was gonna say, once again, it's not just all serious stuff, right? Sometimes we'll share embarrassing stories, right? That we don't want people to know. And because on my side, I'm always making jokes and laughing and making fun of people. So sometimes I'll slip, and be like, a funny story was shared, and then I'm like, in the situation, I tell it. I'm like, oh, I wasn't supposed to tell that. And then the other person's like, oh, why did you share that embarrassing?
Yeah.
So, that's what I meant too when sometimes that happens in that sort of way. It's not always like
Oh, yeah, I
malicious,
mean,
you know.
I think you and I had a situation where I was defending you, and we won't say what it was.
Yes, that's right.
And
That's right.
you had to pull me aside the next
Yeah.
day and say, "Don't ever do that to me again." And I didn't realize I'm feeling protective.
Yeah,
But then once I listened to you, I'm like, okay, fair ask. But
Yeah.
no ill intent. I mean,
Correct,
definitely
correct.
we're talking ill intent. Julio, give your opinion. I'm going to tell you everything everybody said on Facebook.
Oh wow, about me.
Yes, about you.
Yeah. I think if it's like after a breakup, I think it's just the miserable person trying to make the other person feel
Yep.
as equally as miserable. It's just, you know, if I'm gonna feel like shit, then there's no reason why you should feel the same way. It's just, I think that at the end of the day, that's just basically what it
Immature.
is.
It's
Yeah.
immature and it's hurtful. I look. I have enemies. I say enemies. I don't even like that word.
yeah.
But I have
got
people
enemies.
that
Like,
I
calm down. Calm down.
we're extremely close to that I'm not friends with anymore. Right?
Yeah.
I know, like, especially women, we know everything. Now I'm definitely more like choosy, but back in the day, women are that's what we do. And I would never, I just would never go out in the now. Would I share something that happened during my relationships with my best friends in a circle where I knew that wasn't going to go any further?
Yeah,
and
that
there
was
was
gonna- it
no
wasn't
ill
gonna lead to the
intent. Of
person.
course, we all need venting posts, and,
Correct,
and that's
correct.
okay.
Yeah.
But I think I always say it's the trickle down effect. You don't just hurt that person, you affect so many aspects of their life, right? And, you know, job, their mom here, sister, whatever that is, right? Like, who cares? Well, you should care. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not your story to tell. It's not what you did to tell. And I think it's classless. I mean, look, I didn't feel the need beyond my inner circle to tell my side of the story in my last relationship. And when people would try to ask me when I was out, I said, no, everybody's good. I mean, and that's all they needed to know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. It was the right thing to do. I didn't need to do any more than that. Now, I'm sure I took little digs between our friend group and this,
Yeah,
that.
of course.
In all fairness, I'm a human too.
Uh,
So on Facebook, we got a lot of feedback. I got a lot of feedback in Messenger. I got a lot of feedback right on my Facebook wall. And it was kind of divided even and kind of the same, right? So the first feedback, there was women that gave feedback, that's like, I would never do that. Funny, when the women that commented that said I would never and have never, it did not surprise me. They would not. They're all women, and not no women said that they would do that, right? But the women that I know them well, and we align in values and the way our character is, and so I was not shocked because we align so many other ways. So I was like, I didn't think any different for 1 second that you wouldn't. Guys definitely said they have had brutal experiences. A couple of our friends said, you know, women just weaponized everything against them, spread rumors about them. I will go back to, again, I think it is a sort, right? I do think it's a sort on both sides of the coin, but sometimes there's a shocker, right?
well, it does say more about the person who does that, right? Than the person who shares. It says more about the person who.
What
you've come-
Susie says about Sally says more about Susie
Yeah,
than Sally.
there you go.
Always. I mean, yeah. Okay, so on the flip side of the coin,
Yes. What's the flip side?
on the flip side of the coin, a lot of men said that is the toxic women you're choosing over and over again, and I agree because even when guys are guiding us and we're crying to them, well, you're choosing the same type of guy. There is a sort. Now, granted, emotional intelligence and getting older plays into this, right? As we get older, we realize a lot of things. That's why youth is wasted on the young.
Yeah.
But so, granted, there is that, but it is a sort. I mean, you know, I didn't have the easiest childhood. I didn't have the most fucked up childhood. But what I did have was two parents who took care and taught me morals and values and respect and manners and sent me to etiquette and, you know, disciplined areas in my life and told me to always show empathy and compassion and were examples of that when I was younger and still to this day. So I do think it's a sort, and that has no economic status. I'm sure stuff plays into it, but it has, you know, geographical status. And as you get older, it is honestly who you choose to be.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree?
Oh, totally.
Absolutely. Hands down.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'll throw it in for your face later on.
The notes I took for myself were good humans don't do this. I put it's always a choice. What I said when you make this, you always have a chance to not say those things about somebody. So to listeners out there, always take a step back, breathe, and not say. Believe me, I'm the queen of pop off, but not in this way.
Yeah.
And then most times when that's happening, and whether that's in a relationship or anything, it's a projection of their own fear and anger outward, and and just they're scared inside and they're hurt, and many things come from fear. So.
Yeah, so it is when you're vulnerable, like it's out there, so anything can touch it a little bit. You're like, oh, I feel that.
Has anybody really, and then we'll move on to the sex. Because if it isn't bringing us inspiration, income, or an orgasm, why are we fucking with it? Anyway, have you had really bad experience with that, either of you?
I personally haven't.
Yeah. A lot of guys have. I felt kind of bad for some of the stories I heard. I was like, I was shocked. I was actually really shocked. I think when people are so unkind, look, I'm loud and bold, but I'm not unkind. When people are mean and unkind, it still shocks me, and I'm not sure why. So. Anyway, we're going to move on to a little sex and then wrap the show really quick. But first, before we go, Tribe Called Jess and the Wylde Style Network in Salisbury Studios, as well as the other podcasts, Notebook Wagering, Stand Up and Shout. I got it. Mm-hmm. And I think we're still doing Welcome to Manassas. You never know. But we will be accepting advertisers, sponsors. We have different obviously digital in-studio options as well, reading ads, as well as, I don't know what all the... John, get on there and say all the great words that come with advertising, because I always mess it up.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. There's all the social media platforms, in-stream advertising, in-studio advertising. Jeff, there's a lot of advertising opportunities, whether it's in the podcast or the Cadezilla or TCB fights. There's a plethora of different advertisements and different ways we can implement your brand. Absolutely,
and remember that we are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Deezer, RSS Community, Google, iTunes, Google Play, Samsung Play. So that goes across the board too. So you're getting a lot of advertising. So hit me up on social media. Obviously, I'll take it off of that, and we'll meet in person or meet on the phone for any advertising. So just wanted to plug that, because we're starting to move all the podcasts in the studio to the next level. I'm really, really excited about it.
Woohoo, get your name out there, guys.
Do I have a caller on the line? Mm-hmm. Do I have a name?
No, I'm just saying, like, if we get a sponsor, we can put them on the gear.
One guess.
Oh. Welcome to A Tribe Called Jess. This is Jess speaking. Am I in?
Hey, what's happening, y'all? Y'all know who this is.
Hey, John, what's up, buddy? Long time.
Why do you always wait till I have less than 10 minutes left, and I still have another subject?
Because I'm watching the show. I mean, I'm like,
well, we appreciate
what's going on. I mean,
he's captivated by us, right, John?
It's my time to shine.
You're the best, John. I appreciate it. What's going on? What you got to say?
Jeff, I want to, Jeff, you can DM me and let me know what actually happened after the whole porn situation, because you tried to switch off it real quick, but it did work out pretty well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it did work out pretty good, actually. Multiple occasions.
I love it. Why he doesn't need to when have you known Jeff to be shy? You don't need to DM him. He'll say it right here.
He said it led to multiple orgasms.
Here come the rumors.
Don't Google Jeff.
Well, John, thanks for coming in. I will have Jeff update you with all the details if there's anything further than that. Make sure you call in for my birthday episode on March 20th. I got to finish the show. Yo.
Hey, Frank, you keep standing on 10 toes, too, player. I see you out there.
Thanks, bro. And when are you going to come to the events, bro? You got to come watch Kzilla, those boxing fights.
When are you coming to the events? Okay. We love you, John. I got to wrap. I'm running behind. You're the best, John. Thank you.
Later, bro. Thanks for calling.
Thank you, John. You're the best. We appreciate it. Okay, to wrap the show. So I read this thing. I went down a rabbit hole. What are you waving at?
He's thanking John for calling in.
Thanking John for calling in. I went down a rabbit hole of. I found different reels when I searched on the TikToks. Sorry, and I came across one that said over 25% of Americans didn't have sex at all last year. So I was like, this cannot be true. Oh, it's true. We're in a sex recession. Now, I'm going to make a few key points here because I was like, well, that sucks. But in a way, it doesn't suck. So, first of all, it sucks for those who are just not getting laid. I'm so sorry for you. Go get laid.
5% of y'all
But
suck.
in 2021, over 20% of men 35 and under did not have sex. In 2021, I was like, wait, what? I mean, that's a pretty big amount. They have said the sexual decline is partially due to Roe v. Wade, and it's the turnover of Roe v. Wade. And I don't want to, I don't talk about those things, but I was looking to why they would say this. So the Gen Z and millennials are having less sex because of that, the fear of, somebody getting pregnant. So I think maybe, I won't comment on any of this.
It's just statistics that you're mentioning.
It's a statistic.
Not wanting to use a condom leads to not wanting to have sex.
Yeah.
I can't even with you right now.
Is it not wanting or not being able to afford them?
Oh, that's the real question.
I can't. So then I go down another rabbit hole. You guys know me. So I was like, I feel like as a whole in America anyway, like people have just become more emotionless, right? More connected than ever, yet less connected to ever. More women I know have the ability to be indifferent and turn off their emotions. More women have the ability to act like men did 10 years ago. Like, bye. It's interesting to me. So then I went down another rabbit hole of does this in relationships, I was thinking, but also out, like marriages, committed partners, but also, not in, but kind of people seeing each other. Does emotional literacy directly link with the lack of sex going on? The sex recession. I like the name, guys.
Recession.
It's a sex recession.
Well, they did say we're going to go through a recession
That has
in the 20s, right?
When I
So
am in,
recession.
when I'm in a committed partnership, there is no sex recession. Hell no.
Of course, it's one of the perks. Jeez.
You should be having sex, and I will repeat it on every show. If you are in a committed relationship, sex, it will save your relationship. Committed guys, committed before I get the feedback. But it's, ultimately when I did the research, it does, because it directly correlates with feeling safe. Oh, wait. It said that it does, and what it does is it leads to hot, wild, crazy sex, partners being more willing to do things with each other. And the emotional literacy is because it makes people feel more safe, more connected, more appreciated, and it goes both ways for men and women. Therefore, they're willing to have sex more and do more crazy things when they're having sex. And I thought that was interesting, but so true.
Yeah.
And it's not just familiarity. Like, of course, we all get familiar. But if you're not making me feel appreciated, well, okay, maybe not me, but other women. If you're not making me feel, a woman or a man feel safe, appreciated, what were other words used? Sorry, guys. Respected. It creates more of an area. If you're not, it's not creating that space to try new things. They're more willing to do that and want to connect in wilder, crazier ways. And obviously, familiarity. So we need to be appreciating each other more, respecting each other more, making each other feel safe. And then you can thank me later when you're getting laid all the time. You're welcome. You're fucking welcome. What do you think?
I agree. Julio and I had this conversation earlier. We were wondering why that statistic has gone up. And Julio, I want to hear what he had to say. It was a good point.
I kind of associated with another TikTok that I had seen about how this generation, like now, doesn't really know what it means to be bored. Like it's so easy to find a distraction, just like in the palm of your hand. You're like your phone.
Yeah.
Like back, I remember growing up. Like if I didn't have anything good to watch on TV or anything going on like with my family, it was just trying to figure out what to do to not be bored. You know, whether like actually leave my house, go for a walk, try to meet up with a friend, just like learn something new. But now it's just, oh, I'm like, I got 5 minutes. Let me go to my phone. You know, or
Instead of creating those connections.
exactly. So I feel like the technology, although it helps reach out to more people, it also isolates you and kind of
It's addicting.
and also
I
kind of
mean-
like helps that prevents you from building yourself emotionally and growing with other people around you.
I think one thing I've worked on, I think, Frankie, you've noticed, when I'm out now, I might make a post or check if somebody's calling me or if you guys all aren't there yet. But I try to keep my phone away much, much more than I used to because I'm like, I'm here to see the people that I love and care about the most. Why do I give a F what's going on I can see that in the morning. Nothing's changed. It's like, I agree with you. I'm guilty of the addiction as well. And I think you have to address what's in here or with your partner first. And what's happening is we're distracting whenever I watched this really cool, I'll bring it up on my birthday episode because I'm already planning that. But it's a cool thing that when we feel uncomfortable, we feel pain, we scroll. She says it like this: scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, I got hurt by my boyfriend. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Because it's a great deterrent to not have to deal with that pain. And that's just building barriers within yourself and the other partner. And then she's like, and then all of a sudden you get to Brian and you're like, oh my God, I wonder Brian, I haven't seen him in 20 years. What did he do on his vacation? And you're like, why am I even looking at this? Like, what? I love social media for what it is. I love it for what I do for this and the different business and connecting with people. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm even learning that, like, whoa, I don't want it to interfere with real life interactions, relationships. So I agree with you 100%.
Because it's easier to hit a like on a picture, right? Or maybe even text than to actually be in front of somebody and be like, hey, that dress looks nice on you. Hey, nice shoes. Or, hey, you have a nice smile. Like, try to engage to meet with somebody, to make that emotional connection. Because in order to have sex, it just can't be physical, right?
Well, I can't. I told you, like, I absolutely, I got it. It doesn't mean, forever. I don't mean it to sound like that, but I do have to have emotional connection.
Yeah. I mean, there's aspects to it. Sometimes it could just be physical, sometimes just emotional, sometimes both.
Can't be just.
But it's like if you don't work on it, you have to go out there and socialize. Like if you're always on your phone, if you're isolated, it affects, you being able to be intimate with somebody.
And I joke a lot about it, but sex is just so essential. And remember the girl on Instagram, she told me, don't force. And I was like, force? I'm saying you should pony up and have sex with your committed partner. Oh my God. That was
I remember that.
Don't force your committed partner to bang you. Man.
That girl, wow.
Yeah, the conversation was like this and it just went, pew!
This is what happens with common people, and they just take your, anyway.
Well, then it turns into, he hasn't touched me in 40 moons.
And 4 scores ago. No, and we'll end. But it is just so, so important to connect with your partner in that way. The intimacy is so important. But to have even longer term intimacy, because it is important. It's work. You got to be doing the work externally as well. It ain't just ride the pony, baby.
Yeah.
If you're making her feel like shit all the time, she ain't riding the pony. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and vice versa. I just use it in terms of that. So anyway, guys, we're going to wrap up here. I want to thank everybody on Facebook, on Instagram, on all my socials for the follows, for the feedback. Please follow Tribe Called Jess wherever you get your podcast, on Facebook, Instagram. We will see you next week right here. Take good care, guys.
Later.
Bye.
Yeah, I was trying to get it for you in time, and I had to skip over to that page.
When I said Tribe Called, it came on when I said Jess. That happened on last episode, and I think you filled it in or turned it up because
Oh, at the beginning?
Yeah,
Yeah, I caught that. Yeah, I got that.
it pops on when I get to Jess.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know, no big deal.
If you want, real quick, if you just want to say it on the mic, and I'll just record it, and I'll patch it in. Give me 2 seconds. Let me get the stream offline.
Oh, did they hear all that?